Hi, I'm Lance Benishek.
And I'm Chester Whitmore.
When people would go out dancing to swing, I mean, they did either a swing one step or a shag or the Big Apple. I mean, that's pretty much what the majority of the country was doing to swing music at that time, right?
Quite. Those are the popular fad dances of that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think shag is a quite unique dance. It takes a lot of time, or I can say it takes concentration to keep that to the steady beat. And moving that fast, oh man, well, you know, everything's down on your feet.
There's a book in 1942 by Dexter and Anita Peters-Wright. When they're talking about the jitterbug, they say, the first dance to be called the jitterbug is the shag. And if you look, the shag jitters, you know, it up and down. Lindy hop, shag, jitters. It was the dance of swing in the 30s. It was very hoppy, the arm very high up. I think it was 1992, I had a interview with Tom Gallagher, who was Arthur Murray's main teacher at the Manhattan studio. Well, his main Manhattan studio, he had a couple in Manhattan. He told me a story once where they heard about this new dance called the Big Apple. And, well, in July of 37, I think, is the first time the Big Apple is mentioned in the New York Times, saying, you know, even though it hasn't been danced here, you know, it'll be here soon, because it's just sweeping, you know, up from the south. And Tom Gallagher told me that him and Arthur Murray started going to the clubs and going up to the best dancers and asking him that, is that the Big Apple you're doing? And they'd always say, no, that's the shag. And everybody was doing the shag, and there's this wonderful dance, and they thought, well, if all these people are doing the shag, we better start doing it too. So Arthur Murray, to make it more acceptable for society and to make it less aerobic, he brought the arm down and also toned down the hopping. Instead of going step, hop, he would have it just with a step and just a little lift of the heel, and bringing the free foot back and a little touch. So it was, you know, nice, easy bounce instead of a hop.
Connie Waddell, in the meantime, he came from Chicago, and he brought the Chicago style of shag, where the guy lifts his arm up real high and the gal lifts her hand up, and then they assume this funny little pose.
The Paramount Theater downtown had a big jitterbug contest, because again, that's what the public wanted to see. They'd show a movie, and then they had their regular show where they had jugglers and dog acts and everything else, and then swing dancing. And Tommy Dorsey was the big band, and we came out and sat at little tables in front of the band, like we were in a little nightclub perhaps, and sat there, and he played one or two numbers, of course his theme song, and then we'd get up and dance, all dance, and then we'd dance one at a time and that sort of thing. Well, nobody knew Connie Waddell or who he was or whatever. He'd only been there a few days and he was able to get into this thing. So we were all doing the Lindy at that time, and some lifts and throws and all that sort of thing. And all of a sudden he came out and started doing this shag, which is kicking to the side, and they were wearing saddle shoes and bobby socks and t-shirts, nothing like what we were used to even seeing. And of course the arm is straight up in the air, and they're kicking to the sides doing the shag, and in and out and around, and fast, fast, fast. And it really knocked people dead. And that's when the shag came in. It was very popular.
The best time I've seen shag done is the music of the mid-30s.
See, Dipsy Doodle's like called the classic shag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fast.
But it has that businessman's bounce.
Right, it's the bounce that it has.
The businessman's bounce.
Right. Like I like listening to shagging to, well, Larry Clinton and Bob Crosby are my favorite bands to shag to, okay? You know, Bob Crosby has that slight Dixieland feel.
Okay.
Right?
That's it. Okay.
But it still has the bounce.
Yeah.
But it's not Dixieland.
Okay.
It's still swing, but it's got a little Dixieland feel. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And I learned a lot of the band leaders, they were great dancers too. They just got up there, started waving the baton, but after the show was over, they were great dancers. It was, I can name you, what's that? Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong, Nicodemus, Basie. You wouldn't believe it, huh? Count Basie. Count Basie. Duke did a little bit, but he was a ladies' man. Stuff like that. Woody Herman. He's also a great dancer. Dizzy Gillespie. Miles Davis a little bit, till he started getting to the cool jazz stuff. You know, a lot of musicians that did dancing, and you'd be amazed to see them do some of the steps. Louis Bellson, he could do Shag. He could do Shag real good, and I was shocked to see him. I was looking at him. He got him to start going across the floor. Yeah, my man Cab Calloway. That guy, he would grab all kinds of elements. I think Lindy's almost like a slingshot to me. Bang, boom, or you can smooth it out, and you cover a lot more area. But if you want to smooth it out and concentrate it, but keep the intensity going, I think the Shag is the thing.
Well, 1930, very late, probably December of 38 is the first that I can find the term jitterbug being used with the Lindy Hop. And that's when Lindy Hop has started to be done outside of New York City. It was starting to spread. And in 1939, I know a lot of the articles of the time say that the Shag was being mixed with the Lindy Hop. And, you know, a lot of the 40s stuff, early 40s, before the war, you had a mixture of Shag and Lindy Hop, and by the time the war was in full force with us, Lindy Hop was taking over and the Shag was kind of pushed aside, and Lindy Hop became the jitterbug and the swing dance of America.
Buddy Bradley, I met one of his last wives, and this is when I was about 26 years old. Leonard Reed was there, and she came through. And I was doing this dance going across the floor, and I didn't know what it was. And I said, "Well, hey, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool walk." You know, I always seen the camel walk, but I never seen a type of step. You know, and she would do this step, and they would say, "Oh yeah, we're trucking." That's the first time I ever heard of what's that? Da 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 da. Everybody's trucking.
The story I heard about trucking was that in Harlem in the 20s, you know, the clubs all served food and drinks, and they all had live music. And, you know, the waiters would serve the food and bring the drinks on these trays. And when they would go back to the kitchen after they served the food, they'd start spinning these trays on their finger. And then they would start going back to the kitchen, and, you know, they would devise these things, pass them on the back, you know, things like you do with basketball nowadays, right? Yeah. And different kinds of footwork they devised, different kinds of shuffles. And it ended up that 1935, one of the types of shuffles that they did ended up being called truckin', and it became a national craze, fad. So.
Out of the kitchen, into the dance floor.
That's right. That's right. So shaking the finger symbolizes the spinning of the tray. Dancing just gives you a spirit of life. I mean, it goes back to the beginning of human civilization. There's always been dancing, and I think it's just part of everybody. That it's social, it's physical, I mean, just pretty much everything's positive about it. There's really nothing you can say about it unless you hurt yourself doing it.
Oh, dancing is hip, man. It's hip. Life is dancing. Life is movement. It's cool, you know. Life without dance is like life without music. Waking up every day, going to work, going here. No, I can't imagine that.
I don't know if I can say this, but you know what the main difference between you and I is?
What's that?
The main difference.
I don't know.
You're ticklish. I'm not ticklish. What's that?
I was not the dancer in the family, I can tell you that now. I was not supposed to be a dancer. No. You know, I'm a cameraman, something like that. That's my main thing. But when I first saw dancing, I was like, wow, that's hip. I got to get that. I want to know how. I didn't even know if I can do it. I didn't even know I can do anything until I started seeing some of the movements and I started just getting up for trying it, you know. And then I loved it.
My first interest was in the Charleston back in the mid-'70s, and I started doing all kinds of dance. Still my favorite is the American, though, in the variety we have in America, the variety of music. And it's interesting because we didn't have our own music.
That's right.
Until, well, John Philip Sousa and the early ragtime stuff. Otherwise, we were pretty much European-based music styles until the Sousa marches and the ragtime came out. And then we started having our own dances. But before that, we were just using European dances and European forms of music.
Yeah, you know how many dances we created? 15,000. 15,000.
At least.
Yeah, at least 15,000 dances. That's in 200 years. Wow, it's a lot of dances.
Back in the 1930s, swing music took over the jazz music from the 1920s. So now you had a new kind of music going on and a new kind of dance to go with it. All of America was doing some form of shag. Yes, the Lindy Hop was in existence, but it was pretty much isolated in Harlem. All of the country was doing some form of a shag. A lot of people didn't even call what they were doing shag, they just called it swing dancing. They didn't have a specific name. My understanding is that the shag came from the South. I can trace back for sure to 1932, but I'm sure it goes back further than that. The earliest writings of the shag go to Virginia Beach, Virginia, but prior to that, no one knows for sure where the origins are. And no one's clear if it is actually an African-American dance or a white dance, because both were doing them at the same time. So the origins are pretty obscure. It's hard to explain exactly what a shag is because there are so many different types and styles of shag. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, quite.
The dance teachers of the time classified shag as a single shag, a double shag, and a triple shag, depending on how many hops were in the basic. Okay, now the people themselves didn't distinguish this. They just did what shag they did in their vicinity, in locale region. So a single shag had one hop in the basic, and the hop could be in different places. You could go hop, step, step, step. You could go step, hop, step, 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 hop, wherever the thing was. And then you'd repeat the basic on the other side. The double shag had two hops in the basic and was a 6-count. Step, hop, step, hop, step, step. Other parts of the country started with the quick first, so they would go step, 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 hop, step, hop. Triple shag was an 8-count basic with 3 hops, and it was step, hop, step, hop, step, 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 hop, and then repeat that over on the other side. So, I mean, technically, the Balboa is a form of single shag, because you're going like step, hold, step, step, or wherever you put the hold or the hop. Nationally, there really was not a specific thing called collegiate shag. There were different styles that were called collegiate shag. A lot of sources say that in order to do collegiate shag, you take, instead of a hop, you would do a ball change. So if you're doing a double shag, step, hop, step, step, you'd go step, ball change, step, ball change, step, step. A lot of the writings in the 1930s, when you read about collegiate shag, majority of them are actually a single shag, 1, 2, 3, hop, 1, 2, 3, hop. And again, sometimes you'll see something called collegiate shag, which will be a triple rhythm. So collegiate is really not a very descriptive term. Even in the 30s, it really didn't mean a whole lot.
I like a lot of the different dances authentic, they call boogie woogie, of that time of the 30s and 40s. The steps within there, because every step was a dance craze. You know, if you were doing, like they said, the trucking, and then when the trucking comes out, everybody would do all kinds of forms of trucking. When a dance hit the streets, it would be like, okay, you do a step one time, and everybody say, oh, I got to learn that step. Because if you don't hit it and learn that step right away, you're gonna, in the next 4 months, you're going to be lost because somebody's going to take that step and change it into something else. And then there's going to be another combination. Everybody said, oh, I got to get the new combination. And then you got to get it or you're going to be left. And the dance craze start changing, like even in the tap steps, you have to do the vernacular jazz or either some form of Lindy Hop or some form of Shag or trucking, Balboa, whatever. It's always mixed in. The Three Chocolatiers, rather than the Three Musketeers, it was a group, Afro-American group that did the trucking and they did the pecking. The pecking was one of their major dances they created, but they, again, like you said, they came out of Culver City, then San Sebastian Cotton Club in Los Angeles. Then we had our own cotton club. And they were the first group that went to China and with a major contract. And the person that helped them got that was Clarence Frenchy Landry. And he gave it to a friend, which was a comedian and a businessman named Esmond Mosby, which was also the mayor of Central Avenue at that time. And he said, I can't take this contract, so I want you and get a group together and go to China. So he said, I don't know how to dance. He said, well, you open up in 2 weeks. And so it was a slow boat to China. So he got 2 of his friends that knew how to dance, and he had to learn how to do tap, eccentric, the Shag, trucking, the whole in 2 weeks. He learned 3 steps a day. Perfected them down. Show ran. They stayed there about 4 months. Came back, became a national big hit. Harry James grabbed him and put him in New Faces of 1936. Motion. 36, but it was made in 36.
It was called 37.
Okay, 37.
Yeah.
Okay.
The movie's called New Faces 37.
Okay. But that's what they came out. And they do a lot of. They do the trucking and that too. They do different. They do the trucking and the strut, and then the poke, and then the peck.
Who taught me Shag? I was taught Shag by numerous people. First, when I lived in Atlanta, a lot of the women I would dance with would show me different Shag steps that they used to do. And then when I started working with Betty Wood, she learned the Shag in 1934. And she did a specific kind of Shag, single Shag, which matched all the descriptions I had from the early 30s on Shag. She did it exactly like the descriptions I had. It was just phenomenal to actually see the steps I had come to life. It was really exciting. And the other big applers with Betty, they all showed me different styles of that same kind of Shag. I know Dot Bradford, her and Betty used to dance at Myrtle Beach in the summers. But Dot used to like to go to the Atlantic Beach, which was the African-American beach at the time. And she said that the African-Americans were much better Shag dancers and a lot more fun to dance with. The only thing is the sheriff kept kicking her out of there, telling her that she was going to cause a riot. But that's what she enjoyed dancing in, and she showed me a lot of the style that they did, which was quite a bit different. It was the whites down in the South at that time didn't turn it quite as fast, it seems. Dot liked to turn a lot, spin. So that's where she used to like to hang out. And then I studied a lot with people in New York. A lot of the Arthur Murray teachers from the Manhattan studio who were there in 37. Tom Gallagher made up a lot of the steps for the Shag and for the Arthur Murray style of the Big Apple. And he was the choreographer for Arthur Murray, the 30s all the way into the 50s for their dance party show.
When you're dancing with a live orchestra, you're throwing stuff at the band and they're throwing it back at you. Now that's when it's real fun, when the band begins to really play with the dancer. And you can feel that when you do something and they're right with you, My first experience with that, one time I was dancing one time and the band just was playing, and all of a sudden the big band became like a quartet. And I'm going like, what happened? The rest of the guys stopped reading the music and started looking at the dance. They just said, we lost our place, so we just let you do it. So I said, okay. So I mean, it's a certain thing you have to do. It's a vibe type of thing. Idols of dancers? Oh, I got a lot of idols. Eddie Rector, Astaire, Bilbo Jangles Robinson, Berry Brothers, Nicholas Brothers, Raymond Winfield, Cerise, Maria Bryan. Oh, that's my girl. Now that's my girl. Yeah, I can't miss that. Woo-hoo. Of course, Frankie Manning, Norma Miller, Betty. Betty pulls out. She pulls them out. Who else? I can say. Ooh, of course, I had to say R.G. Savage. Now that's when I say that are idols.
Nobody wanted to look like somebody else. Everybody wanted their own style, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much where if you started looking like somebody else, you'd change.
Charlie Atkins.
Yeah, Charlie Atkins. Look at him. He choreographed for how many groups?
Oh God.
Yeah, but each group looked different.
That's true.
Same choreographer. Now everybody's trying to be a clone of everybody else.
Yeah.
So once we start getting our own freedom in our own dances, it's just an incredible wealth of culture that has developed. And I think it's, a thing that we really need to keep going and preserve, because I think it's so often we forget about our own culture.